In the Ultra Arno district of Florence, where the humid breath of the Arno River clings to ancient stone, lived two families separated by exactly 4 inches of shared structural mortar and 5 centuries of mutual suspicion. In Via dei Bardi at number 22 lived the Martelli family, and at 24, the Puchi family. To a tourist, these might merely sound like two beautiful doors with heavy iron knockers, but to the residents, they were the front lines of a Cold War fought with laundry detergent, espresso machines, decibels, and historical pedantry. Cosimo Martelli was a restoration expert who believed that art died with the High Renaissance. He spent his days in his studio layered with dust, meticulously dabbing solvents into a 16th century portrait of a minor nobleman who looked remarkably like a confused potato. And Dante Pucci, the other guy, at number 24, was a neo-conceptualist, installation visionary. In plain Italian, this meant he once filled a room with 400 kilograms of wet volcanic sand, a single vibrating iPhone. I know, it's kind of crazy. The two men met every day at 7:30 a.m. in the doorstep. Buongiorno Cosimo, Dante would say, wearing a scarf in July and a pair of asymmetric glasses. I see you are still trying to perform a CPR on the past. Let it breathe, man. Let the entropy take it. Cosimo would pause. His key is in the lock, and the eye on Dante's latest acquisition, a bicycle made entirely of recycled espresso pods. Dante, if I let entropy take this painting, I would look like your living room, a disaster area recognized by the UNESCO. The real conflict, however, belonged to their wives too, Beatrice Martelli and Sofia Pucci. In Florence, the stendino, the little rack that you see up on the first window, is a weapon of war. The Martellis lived on the second floor, and the Puccis had second and third floor. Because of the tilt of their ancient buildings, Beatrice Laundry line sat directly beneath Sofia's kitchen window. Whenever Beatrice hung out her pristine white linen sheet that had been bleached with a recipe handed down from the Medici scullery maid, Sofia would coincidentally decide that at 11 a.m. was the perfect time to cook pici all'aglione, thick pasta with the legendary amount of garlic and tomato sauce. The steam from Sofia's pot, rich with the scent of fermented garlic, would rise and then settle comfortably into Beatrice's drying outlet and duvets and pillow covers. Sofia, Beatrice would shrike from the cobblestones below. My bed sheets now smell like a trattoria in the Maremma. I feel like I'm sleeping in your bruschetta. Sofia would lean out, a wooden spoon in hand, looking like a Baroque saint in a state of culinary ecstasy. Beatrice, darling, this is the saint of life. It's the saint of Italy, she would reply. Perhaps if you fed Cosimo something with a pulse, he wouldn't spend all night talking to a portrait of a potato. Unbeknownst to the parents, the youngest member of the clan, Lorenzo Martelli and Giulia Pucci, were engaged in a forbidden romance. It wasn't exactly Romeo and Juliet. It was more like art history meets graphic design intern, because the buildings were so old and had been renovated by drunken masons in the 1700s. There was a tiny rectangular window in the plumbing shaft that connected their two bathrooms. It was barely large enough to pass a panini through, but it was perfect for whispering. My father bought a new laser scanner to detect hidden underdrawing in the Bronzino, Lorenzo whispered one Tuesday night, leaning against the cold tile of the shower. My dad is planning to project a digital map of the city's sewage system into a facade of the Palazzo Pitti, Julia replied, sighing. He calls it the veins of the muse. He wants me to animate the sludge and keep it going. We have to get out there, Lorenzo said. Let's go to Milan. No one cares about 15th century varnish or sewage projections in Milan. They just care about expensive shoes. We can't, Julia whispered. My mom just made a fresh batch of schiacciata alla Fiorentina. If I leave now, I miss the orange zest. Well, the rivalry reached boiling point during the Festa di San Giovanni. Cosimo had been entrusted with a small private sketch purposely by the student of Leonardo da Vinci. It was kept in a climate-controlled safe in a home office at the number 22, the one on the left. That same afternoon, Dante was preparing for his biggest show yet, The Absence of Matter, and had cleaned his entire apartment at number 22 and replaced his furniture with visible curated voids. A heavy rainstorm, the kind that turns Florentine streets into rushing rivers, caused a leak in the roof. The water didn't just drip, it traveled along the structure and beams and crossed the property line from number 24 to number 22. Cosimo burst into the hallway screaming, Dante, your voids are leaking, my Leonardo drowning. Dante opened the door wearing a silk kimono. Water in the ultimate medium, Cosimo. It's a collaboration between the sky and the ceiling. It's a collaboration between your broken gutter and my professional ruin. Cosimo pushed past him. They ran to the office. The ceiling was bulging. Just as Cosimo reached for the safe, a piece of 500-year-old plaster gave out. But instead of water, it fell a small piece of leather-bound tube that had been lodged into the rafters for centuries. In the middle of the flooded room, the restorer and the conceptualist opened the tube. Inside was a map of the two buildings dated 1742. It showed that number 22 and number 24 hadn't always been two houses. They were originally one grand palazzo belonging to a merchant who had two sons who hated each other so much that they built a literal brick wall down the center of the grand ballroom. But the map also reveals something else, a hidden cellar that sat exactly on the property line. A cellar noted for this. It was called Superior Ventilation for the Aging of Vinsanto. The two men looked at each other. The rivalry was gone, but the prospect of a shared tax-free wine cellar was a powerful motivator. Dante, Cosimo said, wiping plaster dust off his elbow, if we knock down the wall in the basement, we could store enough wine to survive the next 3 conceptual art festivals. Dante adjusted his glasses. Cosimo, for the first time in your life, you're thinking like a futurist. Today, if you passed the number 22 or the number 24 in Via dei Bardi, You might still hear Beatrice and Sofia arguing about laundry. You might still see Lorenzo and Giulia sneaking off to a cafe near the Santo Spirito, but if you listen closely to the pavement, you might hear a muffled clink of glasses down deep underground. The Martellis and the Pucci still disagree on everything, from the proper use of perspective to whether or not a pile of espresso cups constitutes a statue. But they are united by one eternal Florentine truth. Historical feuds are exhausting, but good wine shared between neighbors through a hole in the wall is a masterpiece that never needs restoration.